Hey, this is Joe Gilder from PreSonus, and this is the new Revelator USB microphone. Now, I know what you're thinking. You've seen USB mics before. This is just like all the others, right? No, it's not. What makes this one so cool is, first of all, it sounds great. Second of all, it has integrated software that actually runs off the microphone itself that allows you to add things like EQ, compression, gating, limiting, and even some different effects to the microphone signal before it ever gets into your computer. And also, that same software allows you to do some pretty crazy routing, like loopback routing. As in, I can sing into the microphone, have tracks playing back from my digital audio workstation, and also play back some background music from iTunes during the intermission, and all of that gets routed through the software that runs off the microphone, so you don't need any extra software to do all that complicated routing that beforehand would have required one or two different pieces of software just to get it all to talk to each other. Now it all happens within the Revelator itself. So in this video, I'm going to talk about how to use the Revelator for a live stream performance, a live stream concert, and we're going to divide that up into three sections. In the first section, we'll talk about dialing in the tone of the microphone itself. In the second section, we'll talk about how to set up the routing in the software itself. And then in the third section, we'll talk about how to set up the actual live stream itself. Okay, ready to dive in? Let's do it. The first thing to do when you get your Revelator is to register it on our website and download the accompanying universal control software. Just click on Revelator and you'll see it open up this really cool control panel. For this first section, we're going to talk about these things up here and how we use them to dial in the tone of the microphone itself. First thing we want to do is adjust the gain of the mic. But before we do, let's talk real quickly about using a single microphone for a performance like this. For me, it's going to be me and an acoustic guitar. Maybe I'll play along to backing tracks. I don't know. But someone could make the argument of, well, shouldn't I have two microphones, right? One for the voice, one for the guitar. Well, I've personally done lots of live stream performances, and I've set it up lots of different ways. And all those different scenarios have their place, but I found that I enjoy the single microphone approach almost more than the others. You don't have phase issues of my voice getting picked up by the guitar mic and vice versa. You also have the luxury of doing your own balancing, right? So if you're in a room by yourself, you can't really adjust the faders while you're playing. You can maybe do it in between songs, but that's a little clunky. With a single microphone, I can literally adjust the levels and not the panning, but the levels and the balance by just moving myself around or changing the way I play. So I'll have my earbuds in, which are plugged into the microphone itself on the bottom, and I can hear, okay, my voice is a little quieter than the guitar. I'm going to move the guitar over and I'm going to sing a little louder or play a little softer. And I'm kind of doing that self-balancing thing. So it works really well and it can still sound really good. I've done a lot of performances where it's just me and a microphone and it comes out really great. And if you think about it, this is a live stream performance. People aren't necessarily expecting a completely isolated performance where everything is pristine and perfectly recorded. It's more they want a good sound and a good feeling and a good vibe. And I would argue you can do that better with a single microphone while not sacrificing quality than if you had multiple microphones and a mixer and all these other components in play. You can certainly do those, but if you want to keep it simple, you really just need the Revelator and whatever platform you're going to stream on, and that's about it. So anytime you're working with a microphone, the first thing you want to do is adjust the microphone gain. That's the preamp, that's the volume of the mic. We want to get it loud enough, but not so loud that it's going to be clipping. As you can see right now, this is where I generally set it. I like a really conservative level that gives me plenty of room to sing and play loudly without clipping. We can adjust the gain by turning this knob here or by holding down the monitor button on the microphone itself until it turns green. Then we can turn the little knob there to also adjust the gain. One common mistake people make is they say, it's not loud enough in my headphones, so they turn up the gain here. Instead of doing that, turn up the headphones themselves. Easiest way to do that is to just turn the knob on the microphone itself. At its default state, it's just the volume knob for the headphones. So once I've set the microphone gain and made sure it's not clipping, if it's still too quiet, then I can turn up the headphones themselves to get it to the level that I want to hear in my headphones. Now, we realize not everybody wants to tweak EQs and compressors. Some people do and some don't. If you're in the don't category, that's totally fine. We've given you a few options here. First of all, you can browse the list of presets here, and you can save those to these buttons, which can actually be changed by pressing the preset button on the microphone, which is pretty fun. And if you want to tweak some things but not get too lost in the woods, you can come over here and just select some general presets for each thing, like the compressor, the EQ, the limiter, things like that. Me personally, I tend to not want a gate on, which turns the volume down when I'm not talking, because sometimes the musical performance gets quiet and I don't want that gate to trigger. So I'll leave that off, but you can just adjust things here. Now, if you want to tweak things even further, click on these three little dots here and you open up the full fat channel for control. So I can adjust every parameter here exactly like I want. If you're a Studio One user, you might recognize these options. You have a couple different compressor settings, a couple different EQs to choose from, and even a limiter and some crazy voice effects as well, which are fun to play around with. We also have Reverb built in, and it has its own fader here. So if you click on main and make sure headphone is yellow, you've clicked on headphones here, so we're listening to the main mix. If we push up this reverbs control, we've got reverb. So from here, it's really personal taste. I like a hands-off approach. I don't like to do a lot of processing here. So I've just got a little bit of EQ to make sure the guitar isn't too boomy, and the rest I just adjust as I play. Now, if I'm doing a more kind of thoughtful finger-style guitar thing, I might add the reverb in, and then I just get lost in the music. You wait for the walls to fall down. One thing to keep in mind, it's very possible that you'll have no clipping on the microphone itself, but you could be clipping the output of the whole system. Let's say you added a bunch of volume with compression on accident. So keep an eye on this meter here, which is your microphone level, but also this meter here, which is the output or all the mixes blended together. That's what's actually going to the live stream, so you want to make sure that's not clipping either. Okay, now let's talk about routing. There's a lot of stuff going on here that's really powerful, and I want to show you how to set this up specifically for the live stream. So the first thing you want to do over here in Universal Control, you want to make sure this is set to multi. This makes the Revelator show up to your computer as 3 separate devices: Revelator, Revelator Loopback 1, and Revelator Loopback 2. That'll be important here in just a second. So once you're in multi-mode, you're good to go here. Now, within this software here, you'll notice we've got some tabs over here: phones, main, loopback 1 and 2, and we've got faders here: playback, loopback 1, loopback 2, and then reverb. And this is our microphone, this is our reverb. We've seen the first and the last one. What do these 3 in the middle do? Well, here's where it gets kind of fun. First thing, for what we're doing here, you just want to use this main output. This is what's going to go up to the live streaming platform. Now, if you're just doing a performance that's just you and a microphone and you don't want any other backing tracks or background music or anything like that, you're done. This is good. You're good to go. You've got the settings that you want. You're ready to go. However, if you want to do things like, let's say we want to have iTunes open playing background music, and then my Studio One, my digital audio workstation, open playing backing tracks for a song or two, we can actually do that and adjust all the levels right here. Let me show you how it's done. First thing you'll want to do is open up your system preferences and change the main output of your entire computer to Revelator. You see how there's loopback 1 and 2? We're going to use Revelator for that. Now, if we open up iTunes and play some music, you'll see the meters moving here on the playback channel. If you send the computer output to Revelator, this is where it comes. So if we turn this up, you'll hear there's music coming down there. We could have iTunes just looping music for the entire show. Start the show a little bit early, have some music there, and then just fade it down when we start our live stream performance. And then at the end of the show, we just fade it back in, and we've got some background music for the end of the show. But look, we've got 2 more faders here. What do we want to do with those? Let's add some backing tracks via Studio One. By the way, Studio One Artist comes included with the Revelator, which is pretty great. So open up whatever software you're going to use and change the audio device to Revelator Loopback 1. Now we can open up a song and we can drag in, this is an instrumental of one of my songs. And let's say I want to just play a few songs on my show, just me and my guitar, but I really want to play along to these backing tracks for song number 3. It's as simple as hitting play here in Studio One, and we can see over here in the Revelator software, we now have, there's music playing here from iTunes, and we have music playing here from Studio One. And we can adjust those levels independently. And all of this is going out my main output here, which is the live stream audio that you would be hearing if you're attending my live stream concert. Now let's talk about the live streaming platform itself. Now that we have this set up, how do we get that up to YouTube Live or Facebook Live. It's actually not as complicated as you might think. All of those platforms look remarkably similar when it becomes time to use them for live streaming. Whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Vimeo, Ustream, Twitch, and any number of others, they generally ask for two things from you. One, what is your video source? And two, what is your audio source? Video source is typically your webcam, or I use, a lot of times I'll use a DSLR with something called a cam link from Elgato that converts the HDMI into a USB so I can use that as my camera. But for years, I just used the webcam on my computer. So that's the video source. And then the audio source, of course, is going to be the Revelator itself, specifically this main mix that we've created inside the Revelator software. So what do we choose? When it gives you the option to choose your audio source, instead of choosing the built-in microphone on your computer or your normal audio interface, you're going to choose Revelator. And you'll see three there. If you're in multi-mode, like I suggested that you do earlier, you'll see Revelator, Revelator Loopback 1, and Revelator Loopback 2. In this instance, you want to select Revelator because that's the main mix that we've created. As I was testing out the Revelator yesterday using Facebook Live and YouTube Live, I came across something that I want to tell you about. It might save you a little frustration. You can log on to YouTube or Facebook or any of these platforms and you can select Go Live. And there's an option, usually it's called webcam or something like that, that allows you to right there inside the browser choose your video and audio source and go live. The problem, those in-browser encoders don't work quite as well as another option that I'll share with you. The video is a little bit glitchy and the audio is a little bit muffled. Kind of sounds like a bad MP3 encoding. You can do it and it works in a pinch, and it's better than just using the built-in microphone on your computer, but it's not the best scenario. The best scenario, in my opinion, is to use some sort of encoding software that's made for sending a finished stream up to those services. I use a piece of software called OBS, as does Gregor and a number of other people. A lot of people around the world are using OBS as their encoder. And it's very simple. It just requires really one extra step. So inside of OBS, you need to set your video source, just like you would in the browser, and your audio source, which is going to be the Revelator. But in addition to that, on the streaming platform that you want to use, you need to go find where it gives you what's called a stream key. You copy that stream key, paste it into OBS, and it will now send its stream, its encoded video with your video and your audio up to that platform or service, and then you can go live from there. That's the way I do it for my live streams, both for myself, for my church, and all the Sphere exclusive live streams that you see. They're all done the same way. It's OBS as the first thing that compiles everything together with a stream key that sends it up to either Vimeo or YouTube or even Facebook, or any other platform, really. Obviously, this video is about a USB microphone, so the video encoder stuff is just extra. You'll need to spend some time kind of figuring out what system works best for your scenario. But suffice it to say, the Revelator and whatever video platform you use are the only two pieces of equipment that you need to pull off a high-quality, great-sounding live stream. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Joe from PreSonus. I'll see you in the next one.
String. Meow.
Whoop.